and welcome to my channel. My name is Lynn, and today I'm going to start off by doing some no-line watercoloring. I've already stamped out my image onto some watercolor cardstock using really the lightest ink that I have that's good for watercoloring. I think it happens to be a Gina K ink that is, I think it's sand. I don't know if that's the exact name of the color or if that's just how I remember it, but it's great because once you've colored your image, the line doesn't, necessarily disappear completely, but it's not as prominent as stamping in black would be. And I'm coloring with my Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils from Faber-Castell, and the way I like to do it is I just scribble on some color. I'm not paying too close attention to how I'm coloring that in. I'm literally just kind of scribbling it on. And I do get some light and some dark where I think the highlights and the shadows are going to be. And in fact, I put the light basically everywhere, and I only put dark where I thought the shadows would be. And I'm using just the smallest amount of water to activate that pigment, move it around, blend it, and I can even move color from one petal to another where it's a little too saturated. I can pick up that ink or that pigment and move it to a petal where it's been washed out a little bit too much. And I don't necessarily I'm wiping on my napkin here quite often because I don't want a lot of water, because I don't want to actually water that down too much. And in fact, once everything dried, I went in and did a second coloring. I'll just show it to you on the hand here, but you can see how much more saturated you can get just by layering the color. And I'm even pulling a little bit of color straight from the tip of the pencil with my brush, and that gets a lot of pigment. And so lots of different techniques, but with the Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils, the nice thing is that if you leave it to dry long enough, it will dry fairly permanent and fixed to where you can't lift that pigment off the paper with water anymore. So that's the nice thing about it is, while you're working with it, you can move the pigment around very, very easily. Dissolves in, that pigment dissolves in the water very quickly, and it lets you get really smooth blends. But once that dries for long enough, you can do some glazing where you add another wash of color on top. And in my case, I added the same color on top just because I wanted it to be a little bit more intense. And I didn't show it, but I did the same with the flowers as well. I went in with a second pass of watercoloring on the flowers too. And so now I'll start to compose my card. Now today I'm making a mini slimline card, and I cut my mini slimline card bases to 3.5 by 5.5, and that's purely because I want to be able to get 2 card bases out of a single US letter size card. I think generally I think it's 3.5 by 6 or 3.5 by 6.25, somewhere thereabouts. But if you cut to that dimension, you're only going to be able to get 1 out of a US letter size sheet of cardstock. So I just prefer to get 2 and be a little bit more efficient with my paper. And I love using my Make Art Station to, I guess, audition different configurations, different pieces. It's great because you can use the magnet to hold it down and have all of the elements still unattached. That way you can swap things out, try different things, and not commit to anything. I'm the kind of person who I do need to see it in front of me. I can't just sort of picture in my head what's gonna look good, what's not. Even when I use, like before die cutting, even when I use that oval and I put it over maybe a larger sheet of cardstock, it's helpful, but I still feel like I need to see it fully composed on the card before I can commit. A lot of times, I mean, that doesn't always happen, but a lot of times when it does, having this make art station is really useful because not only can you use the magnets to hold it down, all your individual elements down as you swap components out to see what works, what doesn't work, but because it is magnetized, I can even lift it up and actually look at it the way somebody at the angle somebody would actually look at a card, because when we're working on our cards, it's flat to the tabletop, but it's really not how somebody is going to be looking at your card. So it's helpful, I think you might have seen me do it a moment ago. It's helpful for me anyways to kind of lift up the whole card and actually look at it at the angle that you would look at it in reality. And so that's why I love having the make art station. It's really nice for previewing and composing. So I did start off with an embossed panel, and it's just on white. So I've got a lot of white on white. And that embossed panel is from Doris. You can pick that up from the White Rose Crafts shop, as well as the stamped image that I use for the hand and the flowers. I'll leave links to all of the products that I use in the description box below if you're curious. But I know the stamps are available and the embossing folder is available from White Rose Crafts, and I used the same oval die to cut out my hand so that this curve matches exactly with the curve of the oval. And I did give a little bit of dimension by using my using my bone folder to add a little bit of curvature to the hand. That way I can glue the hand down but still tuck the flowers, this little flower bouquet behind it. And again, I'm adding a little bit of dimension to the flowers too. So in this case, I did add some 3D glue gel in the center. I didn't do that for the hand because I knew I wanted that open space for the flowers to tuck into the hand. So it really looks like it's the hand is holding it. And then the last thing is a little glimmered sentiment that, again, just keeping white on white, everything nice and simple. And that's my finished card for today. I hope that you enjoyed this card, and if you did, please consider liking, commenting, and sharing. Until next time, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye.